It was a cold October evening, and I was driving home from visiting a friend who lived deep in the countryside. The road stretched out before me, shrouded in shadows cast by the towering trees on either side. The occasional street light barely pierced through the dense darkness, leaving most of the road illuminated only by my headlights. As I drove, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that crept up my spine. The road was eerily deserted, and the hum of my engine was the only sound breaking the stillness. About 10 minutes into my drive, I saw something ahead, something pale flickering at the edge of my vision. As I drew closer, the figure of a man came into view. He was standing motionless at the edge of the road, facing the forest. His clothes were tattered, and his head hung low as if weighed down by an invisible burden. Instinctively, I slowed down, but the man didn't move. He stood there, unflinching, like a statue carved out of shadow. I passed him cautiously, glancing at my rearview mirror once I was a safe distance away. That's when I saw it, his head slowly lifting, his hollow eyes staring straight at me. A chill ran through me, and I pressed harder on the accelerator, trying to leave the unsettling figure behind. The road twisted and turned, leading deeper into the forest. Suddenly, my car jolted. A loud thud echoed through the cabin, and I felt the steering wheel tug sharply to the right. I managed to pull over and stepped out to inspect the damage. One of my tires had completely blown out, shredded beyond repair. I groaned, frustrated, and retrieved the spare tire and jack from the trunk. As I crouched to work, I heard it, a faint rustling in the trees. It wasn't the wind. It was rhythmic, deliberate, like footsteps. I paused, straining to hear. The sound stopped. I shook my head, chalking it up to nerves, and returned to the task. But then there it was again, closer this time. I stood up, my flashlight darting across the tree line. The beam caught something, a glimpse of pale skin. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling despite my efforts to sound steady. No response. The forest fell deathly silent, as if the air itself had been sucked away. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement, a figure stepping out from the shadows. It was the man I had passed earlier. He was closer now, his face obscured by the dark, his posture unnatural, his head tilting slightly to the side. My flashlight flickered, and the beam dimmed, plunging me into near darkness. Panicked, I scrambled back into my car, slamming the door shut. I locked it, my hands trembling as I fumbled to start the engine. Through the windshield, I saw him standing in the middle of the road, motionless once again, but this time facing me directly. The engine roared to life, and I didn't hesitate. I swerved around him and sped off, my eyes glued to the road ahead. But when I glanced at the rearview mirror, my blood turned to ice. He was there, standing in the middle of the road, his figure growing smaller as I drove away. And then he waved,